OISCA says no need for rice imports. Stay on arrest warrant extended further. And opposition says no to APEC cars.
This is National Emtv News with Helen Sayer.
Good evening and thanks for joining us for Friday's news. Lawyers representing police in the matter involving the arrest of former Prime Minister Peter O'Neill have failed to provide affidavits to support their application to set aside the stay order. The interim injunction granted by the Waigani National Court on October 13th, preventing police from executing a warrant of arrest, is extended until October 31st when the matter returns to court.
At 10:30 this morning, a large group of people who were interested in this case gathered outside the National Courthouse to hear the court's decision. Acting Police Commissioner David Manning, who is the third defendant in this case, also attended the court. The lawyer representing police also represents the principal magistrate of the Waigani Committal Court, Cosmas Bida. The matter went before Justice Nicholas Mivery for inter-party hearing on whether the stay order should be continued or set aside. When making submissions to lift the stay order, lawyers representing police could not provide affidavits to support their submissions. Justice Mivery told the court, while the law can be as good as it is, there was no evidence provided by the state solicitor to support his submission. The police were making submissions to discontinue the stay order, which was granted by the National Court on October 13th to prevent police to execute a warrant of arrest issued by a lower court. In response, Mr. O'Neill's lawyers asked the courts to adjourn the matter to next Thursday to give police time to collect affidavits. The allegations upon which the warrant of arrest was issued was based on payments made by the National Gaming Control Board in 2012 for the construction of the Yagam Lutheran Rural Hospital in Medang. In a letter addressed to the head of the National Fraud and Anti-Corruption Directorate, Chief Superintendent Mechi Damaru, O'Neill's lawyers stated that while their client is willing to cooperate with police, they are uncertain on how these allegations give rise to matters within the jurisdiction of the Medang provincial and district governments. Thekla Gunga, National Emtv News.
Members of the opposition have declined government's offer to be issued an APEC vehicle. Opposition leader Belden Nama says this is outrageous, claiming the vehicle should be sold to offset cuts in the budget. Nama also called on Prime Minister James Marape to push for the tabling of the APEC report in Parliament.
Earlier this week, Finance Secretary Dr. Ken Nangan announced that the 101 members of Parliament will be issued a vehicle each, a decision by the National Executive Council. The opposition has described the decision as outrageous.
I've made it very clear to all the members of the opposition we will not take one vehicle. If any vehicle is intended for the members of the opposition, we will have them sold.
According to the Finance Secretary, 30 vehicles have been presented to 30 MPs, leaving the balance of 81 vehicles left. However, no names were released publicly. Kendrian Gloucester MP Joseph Lelang says the Finance Department must make this clear to the public.
It would be better if the Department of Finance can give more information as to which MPs got those vehicles, so that they should publicize that information as part of transparency and good governance. And the people of Papua New Guinea must come to know which MPs got the vehicles. I think that is much better than just putting the big name MPs given vehicles.
The vehicles presented to the MPs are intended to avoid the high cost of members of Parliament hiring vehicles in Port Moresby. Finance Department has also warned MPs to register the vehicles under the DDA. But the opposition says the cash should be sold to alleviate the shortfalls in the budget cuts.
Most of these APEC assets should be auctioned and sold. Considering the current economic situation that we are faced with. And if you sell these vehicles to general public, you auction it, you recover some funds and put it back into the consolidated revenue.
Meanwhile, the much debated APEC report is yet to be furnished. Minister responsible for APEC then, Justin Chechenko, says the delays are with the Finance Department. The opposition leader urged the government to fast-track this process and make the report available to Parliament.
With that, we are also asking the Prime Minister to publicly announce the APEC report and table it on the floor of Parliament. We want to know how the funds were used. We want to know where the Maseratis are. We want to know what's happening to the buses.
Jack Lapava Jr., National MTV News.
The Correctional Service has welcomed the budget cut of over 26 million kina this year based on the current depressing financial situation the country is facing. In a statement released today, the CS Commissioner said about 17 million kina was taken out from ongoing infrastructure projects, while the remaining 9 million kina was taken out from operational budget.
The Correctional Service has a liability of over 16 million kina backdated to 2006. The budget cut will see a reduction of 12 million kina from the 26.3 million liabilities the Correctional Service owes to service providers since 2014. Up until now, CS has only managed to reduce its debt at the average rate of 2 million kina per year for the past 6 years, including 2019. Making the cut in capital and operational budget affect its debt repayment too. CS Commissioner Stephen Pokanis explained that the cut in the operational budget is likely to affect the provision of essential services like rations for detainees, fuel for operations, including the current effort to pay off liabilities CS owes to service providers for APEC 2018 and the national court circuits, among others. Commissioner Pokane says, however, his management is working around the clock to revise its remaining budget to keep the department's operations going until the end of the year. Meanwhile, he advised all his commanding officers in correctional institutions around the country to live within their means and in accordance with their priorities, all the while appealing to all service providers to be patient during this time given the country's financial dilemma. Annette Cora, National MTV News.
About 50 million kina is needed to establish the preparatory stages of Census 2020. Acting National Statistician John Igitoy says this funding is urgently needed as time is now a concern for NSO. Despite that, Mr. Igitoy says the LLG coordinator's consultation around the country is 85% complete.
The head of NSO says more groundwork is needed to be done, however funding will be an issue for the agency. Mr. Igitoy raised concerns that about 50 million kina is needed and how soon that funding will be released is questionable. He says NSO needs better support.
We require 50 to 60 million kina, and if that's not the money that requested is not coming to us, I'm not really sure how we are going to progress the preparatory stages of the census. That is a very, very key element of conducting effective population census.
Despite funding constraints, NSO has gone ahead with the provincial consultation. This is the first step NSO is taking to train district census coordinators. Igitoy says mapping out all districts is vital. The head of NSO says this will establish the census unit register and important structure before the actual census date.
And people expect a National Statistical Office to conduct the census effectively. As they say, 2011 census was a failure. And the onus is on our partners and our stakeholders and the government to support us.
While there is the urgent need for the government and stakeholders to provide the much-needed funding to support the census exercise, Mr. Igitoy says investigations into the 20 million kina abused by past management is progressing. He says he is not intimidated by threats, but says police is aware of the matter.
We're also doing special investigations sent into those periods that we think needs to be investigated. So anything that when are noticed during that period will be noticed, will be put to table, and everybody can understand how those things and how funds were expended.
Jack Lapave Jr., National MTV News.
National MTV News continues with more after these messages. Stay tuned. Welcome back. For years, Papua New Guinea has been spending on rice imports to satisfy the growing consumer demand. But a local agricultural-based NGO says PNG's rice culture can be reversed as there is mounting evidence of rice being grown and processed locally. The Organization for Industrial, Spiritual and Cultural Advancement, or OISCA, based in East New Britain Province, says the monopoly rice markets can be diversified to include smallholder farmers who can grow rice and sell to a common mill.
At OISCA, a variety of upland rice is cultivated and ready for harvesting. OISCA is one of very few agriculture institutions taking rice cultivation as a core subject, being taught to its students since its establishment 30 years ago.
I think maybe training finish, probably over 3,000 or 4,000 sumatin.
But what's more interesting is that the rice is grown and milled within the institution. And those who have worked there say there's evidence that Papua New Guinea shouldn't rely on imported rice, but grow and process it locally.
The 85% of the population in this country, they have access to those resources. They can process. The missing link is they don't have access to credits, finance were available on all by all machineries needed for processing, and they can produce.
From East New Britain, OISCA is one of many institutions that have joined the call by other sister organizations that want to produce rice locally. It's a concept where smallholder farmers grow rice to sell to a mill owner, where it will be processed, packed and sold. It's an idea that is gradually taking shape in Makam in Morobe, Angoram in East Sepik and Baya in Western Islands Province.
End product lo, panisantim ta production lo ya. Olman daw ko encourage him lo. Grow him own rice blow na farmers to lo. We must mill na give him more too.
Rice has become a household staple in the country, but it is yet to become an important agriculture food crop. The current monopoly market, which centers around imports, has to be diversified so local farmers can be engaged through the SME sector.
Instead lo come up lo narab lahap come end up lo plate lo narab lahap. Why not sort him down? You grow him within the farm, within the area where farmer will produce him and process him lo this area.
But diversifying the market would mean various changes has to be made to government policies. On the other hand, farmers need to produce a consistent supply of rice to meet PNG's ever-growing rice demands. Edwin Fidelis, National MTV News, Kokopo.
Lay's customary landowners, the Ahi people, are calling on residents in the Bumbu and Biwat compound to work with police to apprehend suspects involved in a stone-throwing incident yesterday. A PNV bus had its windows smashed and some of the passengers were injured. This is not the first time something like this has happened.
This morning, busloads of Ahi people accompanied by police went into the Biwat and Bumbu compounds. This was to call out people who were responsible for a stone-throwing incident at the Bumbu market yesterday. At around 6:30 p.m. yesterday, this bus's glasses were smashed along the Bumbu market. The windows were shattered and some of the passengers received minor injuries.
Stone, knife, all pop gun too, all him. I'll try to shoot lo mipla na mipla. Driver blon patingin safety blo passenger na emran na so stone car. Gimbagarap lumiplol pasindi.
Jimmy Kereme was the bus driver.
So pipe, step plan, stone, bushna bol olim no. All to me stop but meeting safety blow line blow me to meeting him no. Me no stop. Me go na mol trauma stone. Bushna backside all swinging bushna plan am lagi passenger am stone cholo.
This is not the first time something like this has happened. Today, the Ahi people went into the compound and urged the community to help police in bringing those responsible to justice.
Olman sa kam sana blab stonim car, even though been stonim police car too. Na we blood trying to talk law and order or Islam, trying to talk to community, but no one block come up.
The Bumbu market has been temporarily closed. The Bumbu and Biwat communities were given until 4 o'clock this afternoon to hand over those responsible for the incident to the police. Lucy Kopana, National MTV News, Leh.
294 students graduated today from the International Training Institute in both certificate and diploma courses. The students received certificates for human resource and management, computing and accounting, and advanced diploma.
Certificates awarded at today's ITI graduation were for certificates and diploma courses. These courses included certificate and diploma in accounting and computing, human resource management, and diploma in information technology. Northern Governor Gary Jufa during the graduation told the graduates to always persevere.
Don't fall into the trap of thinking that your certificate, your diploma, your degree is sufficient. Today you have amazing opportunities that many of us never had. There's much to be gained also from travel. Make the effort to travel when and where you can. Travel to other provinces, other countries. Interact with the people there and learn of their culture and what they're doing and how they're doing it. And you'll find yourself inspired to do so much more.
He told the students that their future lies upon the decisions they make today. ITI Chairman Senthil Kumaran Sentival says the certificates now open doors for the graduates to get out there and find employment.
And also we do have a service which provides job placements as well. So a lot of companies do call us. We need this person for interview and all that. So we do send a lot of people.
He says ITI also has opportunities for students looking to further their education at universities in Australia for degree courses.
And locally also we do have an understanding with PAU and Divine Word as well. Soon if they do enter after being accepted, they can look at credits as well.
The Principal Award for 2019 was awarded to Milton Ninguma.
When the school calls me up that I am the Principal Award, all this negativity just left. And I was happy, and especially graduation this morning, I was so delighted, and I was said thank you.
Other students received certificate and certificates of diploma.
I just graduated from a diploma in human resource management. Really thankful for my big sister and her boyfriend. Like they both supported me and bought all the graduation clothes, and I'm really thankful.
I graduated in advanced in accounting, so this is the last year of studying with ITI, and I look forward for the future, probably into Divine Word or PAU. Yeah.
Ducks of the Year for certificate in accounting was awarded to Kaylin Rini and certificate in computing to Micah Miwa. Godwin Eki, National MTV News.
Richard Mogu is best known for his work as a bassist, but he's as versatile a musician as they come. We had a short chat with the bass-playing pianist, guitarist and traditional wind instrument specialist on the importance of the arts and music in Papua New Guinea. Scott Wade with this story.
Music has just shaped my character. I'm very much a very shy person, you know. I would just hide away I don't stand in the crowd and talk or what. Music just sort of put me in the limelight and said, here you are with the bass, get up and play, son. It sort of said that to me.
When Richard Mogu began his music career more than 25 years ago, he came after a generation of early contemporary musicians who graduated from the University of Papua New Guinea. Many have passed on, leaving a void in the education system, where music and arts were once important elements of teaching and learning. Mogu has been working with other young musicians and kids. He says, in a country like Papua New Guinea, music and the arts is key in innovation, creativity, and a nation's advancement.
It is very important because it touches a part of the human creative ability, not only for creative arts, but for innovation too. That's what I strongly believe.
Richard Mogu spent 3 years lecturing at the University of Goroka, where he found that music education was lacking in the primary and high school levels. But there's a lot more that needs attention. Mogu says Papua New Guinea is still finding a common identity and is yet to draw on its deep musical roots that can become a powerful transformational force.
To say, let's develop something that's of our own. The kundus and our garumas and all those instruments, they have been all part of our lives, everyday life, but we don't seem to be taking that into our music creation. Part of our role is to make an awareness, greater awareness of who we are and how unique we are in our arts and in our culture and in our music and everything else.
And he uses the kuakumba a lot. It's a Highlands wind instrument, and he says it's an example of music crossing cultural boundaries. He believes if we take pride in our own instruments and promote them, it will transform our societies. Scott Waide, National MTV News, Lae.
You're at National MTV News. We'll take a short break here. When we return, we'll bring you stories making headlines overseas. Welcome back to the news. Turning overseas now, the 39 people found dead in a refrigerated truck container were Chinese nationals. Police have been granted an extra day to question the driver. He's been arrested on suspicions of murder.
Flowers for men and women they've never met. Not far from where all 39 Chinese nationals were found, a message from people here in Grays, remembering the lives so cruelly taken.
Their desperation shows that this society we live in is not right somewhere.
Just think of the people that were in the van, in the lorry, and trying to find a new life and not succeeding, unfortunately.
The lorry was taken away yesterday. This evening, police are preparing to remove the bodies of the 31 men and 8 women from the trailer. The start of trying to find out who they are and how they died. There's now a major international investigation. We know that Belgian authorities say the container arrived into the port of Zeebrugge at about 2:30 on Tuesday afternoon. It left there later that afternoon, heading across the channel, arriving at Purfleet in Essex, and at 1:05 yesterday morning, the trailer was collected by a lorry. Around half an hour later, and a couple of miles away, ambulance staff discovered the bodies of 39 adults inside the container. What are the feelings amongst drivers?
Well, everyone's terrified that they're going to find someone in their vehicles, or worse.
In 2016, the National Crime Agency warned that smuggling gangs were moving from major hubs like Dover to smaller ports like Purfleet.
They'd only be caught if they got out of the trailers.
This man worked at the port at the time of the NCA report. He didn't want to show his face.
It happened daily.
And what was the largest number of people?
The largest one I saw was a group of Vietnamese. There was about 32 of them crammed into a little 10 by 12 room. You become used to it, as horrible as that sounds.
And the security at Purfleet?
I mean, there was probably 4 people there over night time, 2 in the car parks, 2 on the actual port. There might have been more, but I never saw them. It was nowhere near enough.
Police are still questioning the lorry driver on suspicion of murder. Named locally in Northern Ireland as 25-year-old Mo Robinson. Police say it'll take until the weekend to remove all the bodies, to preserve their dignity and find the answers they need.
British Prime Minister Boris Johnson says he'll give MPs more time to debate his Brexit deal, but only if they agree to a general election on December 12th. Mr. Johnson expects the European Union to grant an extension to the Brexit deadline. That's now exactly a week away, even though he doesn't want delay.
Is there any clear way out of the storm? Downing Street wants a route to a general election. After weeks of negotiation with Brussels, Number 10 did strike a deal. But MPs rejected the Prime Minister's plan to force it through at top speed. So now he wants to force them to go to the country.
If they genuinely want more time to study this excellent deal, they can have it, but they have to agree to a general election on December the 12th. And that's the way forward, because this Parliament's been going on for a long time without a majority. It's refusing to deliver Brexit. It's impossible to deliver legislation. It's time, frankly, that the opposition summoned up the nerve to submit themselves to the judgment of our collective boss, which is the people of the UK.
In a letter to Jeremy Corbyn, the Prime Minister says if the EU grants an extension to the end of November, he would try to pass the Brexit bill through Parliament again. But if there's a delay to the end of January, there will be a vote next week to try to force a December the 12th election. If Labour commits to that election, the Prime Minister says he will try to get the bill through beforehand.
Is everyone in the Cabinet backing an election, Miss Truss?
Even some of his Cabinet, though, are not convinced this is a good idea.
And get this bill over the line. There's obviously different views, but we should make sure we try to get everybody on board and get things through.
And it is not down to Boris Johnson. It's for Labour and the opposition parties to decide if they want to agree to an election or not. He does not have a majority. They could leave him dangling. Boris Johnson, though, may find himself trapped in Downing Street. This is the 3rd time Number 10 has tried to call an election. Lucky for who this time?
Strong winds are stopping people from climbing an Australian landmark for the first time before a permanent ban comes into force at Uluru. Tomorrow's closure coincides with the anniversary of the return of Uluru, once known as Ayers Rock, to traditional owners.
Hundreds wait and hope of climbing Australia's world-famous rock.
Something I've wanted to do for quite some time, so nearly 20 years.
Arriving from 4:30 this morning.
If you miss this opportunity, well, you're never going to get the opportunity again.
Today's the last day people will be able to venture up. The decision by the Uluru Kata Juta National Park Board to stop people walking up this makeshift track was made 2 years ago and was unanimous.
It's a bit of a win. The old Aussie, he's a bit slow, eh? He still take 2 hours, 60 minutes, eh? And we've been asking for this to happen since 1983.
It's estimated just 10% of visitors go up. Uluru is both culturally and spiritually significant for Indigenous people. They say spirits pass through here and it's time they were given a break from foot traffic.
The analogy that people sometimes give, it's a bit like a cathedral. You wouldn't have people climbing a cathedral or a mosque.
Health and safety was also a concern when closing the walk. It's witnessed many slips and falls.
The first bit is really quite difficult. There were people coming down on the other side, sitting on their backsides.
I think it's silly.
Then there's Mother Nature.
The pathway you can see behind us is worn a track in the surface of the rock. There's been some damage to the environment around the outside from waste.
Indigenous leaders hoping the decision to protect Uluru sparks a new conversation.
Uluru brings visitors from all around the world. It's probably a $7-8 billion industry, but yet we are to receive benefits from this industry. Eh?
The mighty rock helping to shine more light on Australia's first people.
You're with National MTV News. Up next, some sporting updates in Chukai Sports. Don't go away.
Chukai Sports.
Welcome to Chukai Sport. It's official. An NRL match will take place in February next year in Papua New Guinea. The announcement was made today at the Australian High Commission in Port Moresby. The Australian government is supporting annual pre-season trial matches between Telstra Premiership NRL teams in the Pacific, starting with Papua New Guinea in 2020.
Today, players from the Cronulla Sutherland Sharks and the Canterbury Bankstown Bulldogs made an appearance at the Australian High Commission in Port Moresby, representing the Sharks Sione Katoa and coach Daniel Holdsworth, who played for the Sharks and Bulldogs, representing the Bulldogs Jack Cogger, Jaden Okumbo, Corey Payne and Rennie Maitua. The two teams will be part of a trial match to be held in Papua New Guinea. The exciting news came from James Bolan Rudder, NRL Head of Government and Community Relations.
It's my great pleasure to announce today that thanks to the support of the Australian Government through the Department of Foreign Affairs and Trade, that on the 22nd of February next year, the Canterbury Bankstown Bulldogs will take on the Cronulla Sutherland Sharks here in Port Moresby as part of a trial game.
Rugby League is used by the Australia and PNG government to drive key social messaging on social issues, and apart from the game, the players will have the opportunity to spread the messages of health, lifestyle and no to domestic violence.
But the trial game's not just about a game of football. What it's really about is the impact that these incredible athletes will have in young community, in the local communities, engaging with young people, delivering messages about health and well-being.
As part of the Pacific Step Up Through Sport package announced at APEC 2018, the Australian government is supporting annual pre-season trial matches between Telstra Premiership NRL teams in the Pacific, starting with Papua New Guinea in 2020.
There's no doubting the importance of rugby league to the close ties that Papua New Guinea and Australia enjoy. Rugby league is a touch point that brings our people and our institutions together.
The players took time to join the students from Cheshire Home, helping out in their drills as part of the League Belong Life program run by NRL in Papua New Guinea. The players were on their return trip from their humanitarian work in New Ireland province.
I understand the teams have just this morning returned from a trip to Tunung Island in Kavieng, where they engaged in important community activities, visiting the local hospital, talking to kids about health, constructing a community hall, and of course engaging with people through rugby league.
Rennie Maitua, former Bulldogs Premiership winner in 2004, now happily retired, has been frequenting PNG for humanitarian projects in New Ireland and wants more NRL players to experience Papua New Guinea.
We're very grateful to be able to come to PNG and meet the people and see a beautiful culture. It's something that we're lacking in Australia. And I encourage the NRL to be sending more players from every club here to Papua New Guinea to see how much Papua New Guinea love the sport of rugby league.
Clearly Sukina National, MTV Sports.
The Rugby League National Club Championships will start tomorrow. The PNG RFL sanctioned championships will end in the second week of November, with the finals to be played in Lae, Morobe Province.
The elimination matches for the Papua New Guinea Rugby Football League sanctioned Rugby League National Championships will commence this weekend. Each of the affiliated leagues in the PNG RFL will play off in their confederates, the Northern, Southern, Highlands and New Guinea Islands confederates. Only the top two sides in the four confederates will go for the final stage in Lae on the second week of November.
We will bring all the 4 champion leagues from the 4 confederates to Lae. So they play there over 6 days. They will play off and we will declare the national club championships in Lae.
The Papua New Guinea Rugby Football League chairman Sandy Saka said the reintroduction of the national club championships was to offer an incentive for affiliate leagues after they finish their season.
We brought back that club. We wanted to provide an incentive for affiliate leagues for them to complete their seasons. Most of the time, once the Digital Cup starts or the Hunters program starts, we realized that most of the leagues just did not complete the season. So this year we made a decision to bring back the club championships, and for the first time a lot of the leagues have completed their grand finals.
This weekend we'll see the Port Moresby Rugby Football League home ground, the Oval 2 at the OISCA Nationals Football Stadium, host the Southern Confederate Port Moresby eliminations.
We're looking forward to a great championship going. I think this weekend we're having the NCDC Challenge. It's happening here at NFS. You get PRL playing Pom Suburban and Pom South playing Motokoita, so they'll be at the NFS.
It will be a tense time as the champions from 6 of the affiliated leagues in Port Moresby turn up for the matches. The PNG RFL is urging clubs to behave themselves in the true spirit of sportsmanship.
Only ask that the players, teams and their supporters respect the rules of the game, play by the rules. At the end of the day, there can be only one winner. We will be running it. We're appointing the match officials, and all the teams participating have signed up participation agreements.
Fidelis Sukina, National, Emtv Sports.
PNG Customs one-day golf tournament held in Madang has attracted more than 20 corporate teams from business houses. The aim of the competition is to establish an effective network with the communities in Madang that PNG Customs do business with. PNG Customs Chief Commissioner Ray Paul, who officiated the tournament, said this is an annual event that started last year.
The one-day golf tournament held in Madang town also attracted teams from Kokopo, Wewak, Lae and Port Moresby. The interest shown by business communities in Madang is an advantage to PNG Customs achieving its mandated duties of protecting the country's border and community.
Apart from our core mandate responsibility of protecting the border, facilitating trade, collecting revenue, we are very keen on human resource development. Importantly, we have to live that balanced life about having a healthy lifestyle, and we have a policy for that. And so this particular tournament is an annual one where we bring our team together, and the principle that we want to drive here is about having an effective network with the communities that we do business with.
For a start, the competition will only be hosted in Madang. However, PNG Customs is also looking at hosting similar matches in the other centers, depending on the different time schedules for each venues.
To start, it's more a matcha type of thing for us since we're starting. So we will want to start first in Madang and see how we go. Probably into the future, we will want to go out to other provinces where our business is at, probably going to Rabaul or Lae, or then going to Keviang also. The important thing is we are very mindful of the business calendar of each of these golf courses. They are big people that are involved in this game. It attracts a lot of good people also. And so we want to see how best we can, do for ourselves, as for our health-wise, and also to build a network.
Meanwhile, the one-day match started at 9 a.m. with winning teams walking away in the afternoon with a range of prizes from cooking utensils to other valuable items. Martha Louise, National Emtv Sports, Madang.
Trukai Sport continues with more after these messages. Stay tuned.
Trukai Sports.
Welcome back to Trukai Sport. Professional kickboxer Nelson Sampson is back into training ahead of next month's tournament in Sydney, Australia. Nelson gathered with his fighters at 17 Mile, just outside of Port Moresby.
Nelson Sampson, the Desert Storm, who is training for his third international bout in Sydney, Australia, opted to go outside of Port Moresby with his fighters, ending up at 17 Mile in Central Province.
And I'm really preparing hard for the title fight that's coming up, the multi-title fight between me and Jerry Ducker. But Jerry Ducker, because of some issue, he was pulled out, but I'll take John Dower. I'm also preparing for the fight that the Liga are going to host, and both in here in PNG, and also in November and December in Australia. That will be in Sydney and Cairns.
Sampson says, having been exposed to fighting against top international fighters, training will be his #1 priority as he prepares himself for the fight.
They train under me, and while training with them, give me more motivation and moral support, that somebody is behind me to push me up, and they always stand by me by all my training, and they become my padman and at the same time my timekeepers.
Aspiring kickboxer Joel Rimbu, who trains alongside his role model Nelson Sampson, hopes to be like him one day.
It's really tough. I don't know about any other sports, but to do with martial arts, it's about commitment. When you have, you must feel the pain to gain it. There is no pain, you don't gain anything. You must feel the pain.
Rimbu, who recently sat for his Year 12 exam, says he has big plans for the future to do with kickboxing. With the PNG Games next year, Rimbu is hoping to make the cut for NCD or Central.
It's my aim to partake in PNG Games, but if me play around some mini tournaments number, if the coach or the trainers of which provinces take me up, and especially in NCD and Central, let me take part.
But kickboxing is that physical fit, safety-wise, and more. Therefore, kickboxing is much more better than any other sports, I always say.
Desert Storm Nelson Sampson is not the only fighter preparing for the Sydney showdown, but his fellow countrymen who are also based in Sydney, Australia, under the contract of Jazz Promotions in Sydney. Godwin Eki, National Emtv Sports.
And now to the Rugby World Cup. In the last couple of hours, Warren Gatland, Wales coach, has confirmed his Wales team to take on South Africa on Sunday. Coach Gatland obviously motivated by the fact that this is his last tournament with Wales before heading back to New Zealand. But before his time is over, there are two things he wants to achieve. One is to win the World Cup. The second is beat the All Blacks for the first time. He could potentially achieve both if the teams meet in the final, but first they have to get past South Africa.
The last remaining Kiwi head coach outside the All Blacks, Waikato's Warren Gatland, is adamant he can create World Cup history to end an impressive stint with Wales.
Look, those are dreams, you know, things that you've just got to dream about. And one of the things about me is that I'm probably the greatest optimist in terms of, you know, I always go in there and believe something's possible.
It'll have to be done without injured British and Irish Lions fullback Liam Williams, replaced by Lee Halfpenny. Kiwis will remember his brave performance in their last semi-final in Auckland in 2011. Against South Africa on Sunday, a number of other players will have to ignore the pain of niggly injuries, including Kiwi midfielder Hadley Parkes. To help with preparations this week, Gatland's son, Highlanders first five, Bryn, flew in from New Zealand.
Problem is it cost me a fortune to get him here, so but it's worth that.
A World Cup win is just about the only thing missing from Gatland's illustrious list of achievements with Wales, including 4 Six Nations titles and 3 Grand Slams. In his 12-year tenure, the longest in Welsh history, the team has won almost 60% of its games.
How much more enjoyable will summer be this year if you're able to make the final and then perhaps win the cup?
I haven't really thought that far ahead, but the biggest thing that I'm proud of is I think we've earned respect from the rest of the world in terms of what we've achieved in the last 12 years, and I'm not sure that was there before that.
Even royalty has paid tribute to the 56-year-old coach in one of the biggest weeks of his career. His sights now set on signing off a memorable reign with the greatest highlight yet.
And that ends Trukai Sport. The weather details coming up next.
Trukai Sport. Trukai Sports.
This weather update is proudly brought to you by Money Plus. With you always.
A look at the weather forecast for tonight and tomorrow. Partly cloudy with chances of some showers in Port Moresby. Partly cloudy with chances of light rain drizzles in Daru. Cloudy with some showers in Kerema. Showers in Alotau and rain showers in Popondetta. In the Mamasa region, cloudy with some showers in Ley and Wau. Rain and thunderstorms in Medang, Wewak and Vanimo. In the New Guinea Islands region, rain showers in Lorengau, fine weather in Kavieng, cloudy with some showers in Kokopo and Rabaul, brief showers in Kimbe and a shower or two in Buka. And in the Highlands region, rain showers right across the region in Mount Hagen, Goroka, Kundiawa, Mendi and Wabeg.
This weather update is proudly brought to you by Money Plus. With you always.
And that's been the news, sport and weather for this Friday. Have a pleasant evening. Good night.